Welcome to, what is this? This would be the prequel episode. We were just talking about Star Wars, so this is going to be the Reframed podcast prequel.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be a good intro. My name is Josh. I'm the host, and you are?
My name is Steven. I am the producer / manager, you could say.
Yeah, you do all the really intelligent and difficult things, and I just talk to people and hopefully am occasionally funny. That's really how this works out.
Sounds about right.
Sucker. The podcast just launched. We're really excited about it, but we wanted to kind of talk to you guys, and a lot of you may be friends of ours or in our church, the way these things start out. So some of you might know what's going on, but for us, there's a little bit of a journey here. Perry Hall Family Worship Center is the only sponsor, and that's where Steven and I work. And basically, we sat in the office with our lead pastor, Dom, and we talked about where's the church going next, and how do we embrace technology? What are the opportunities we're missing? And so part of the story of Perry Hall Family Worship Center is, Steven, you started launching the sermon in podcast format, I don't know, a year ago, 8 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like the first Sunday of February it started launching.
Yeah, and so a year ago, exactly, to this. Okay, so... And there was traction there, and it was starting to get, hundreds and just really, really going up there, and was going outside of our church community and really outside of this country. People were listening and watching. And so that just kind of spoke to us and said that there's probably something more out there that we're missing. The sermon is wonderful and we want that out there, but what if we start this conversation about what is ministry in our everyday lives? And I think as soon as I mentioned it, your eyes kind of lit up. You're like, yes, we want to do interviews, we want to bring people in, right? Yep. So what got you excited about adding this next level to the podcasting here?
So watching the whole, I'm a big fan on stats. So when I was watching these sermons and they were reaching the Philippines and reaching all sorts of other countries that, we're just in Maryland. There's so many other churches that could be reaching these people, but here we are. I just thought it would be a great idea. Why don't we use these gifts and the talents that we have, and let's just reach as far as we can. Everybody has a cell phone now, so everybody can listen to this stuff. So why don't we start putting it out there?
Yeah. And you, I would say from everything I've learned about you, I've been here since last July. You're passionate, you're the media director here, but you're passionate about video. You're passionate about audio. It's not just, it's something that drives you. It is your ministry, which I think is fantastic. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And so as far as why it's called Reframed, the big overarching conversation, and we're not trying to direct episodes in any specific way, but I think that we realize that ministry is not everything that we thought it was growing up or, coming up in our faith. I had this mindset, I'll just say me, of ministry happens in a church and it's done by the lead pastor and the youth pastor and sometimes missionaries. And sometimes you go down into the city and you do missionary work there, and that's ministry. But as I read scripture and as I have conversations with Christians, we're all called to carry God's message, and we're all called to be ministers of the gospel, no matter what we're doing. And so that was kind of the driving force. And so that's why as you watch this first season, these episodes, we do have some pastors, but even those pastors, their stories are interesting. Like Pastor Ed Toole, who started out life in the biker culture and just has a wild story and how God turned his life around and brought him into ministry. And he's not a full-time paid pastor. He does this. He works here at the church just voluntarily because God told him he needs to do it, which I think is amazing. But also Ed is constantly spreading God's word outside of these four walls. That's kind of the coolest thing about Ed to me. You will hear from Pastor Tolly Wilgus from Captivate Church, which is in East Baltimore and in Towson and in Dundalk, Maryland. And Tolly's got an incredible story. Grew up in the east side of Baltimore. Just started life out hard, no dad around, some crazy things. And God's just turned him into just an incredible man of God and a good guy. And he's doing things. He's got a ministry, Captivate Global, over in Africa. So a lot like we're talking about with the podcast, he's reaching outside of what's normal, and I love that. But then we have Colleen Smith, which probably my favorite. I think we have 3 episodes with Colleen. You don't want to miss those. No offense to everybody else, but Colleen's story and I knew her previously, but I didn't know her in detail. And you were sitting behind the camera. I don't know how you felt, but like every word, I'm like, it's encouraging, but I'm also sitting there listening and going, man, my faith is a joke. Like this girl is unbelievable. Like what was that like for you in that experience? Just kind of hearing her tell her life story, where she came from and where she's at now.
Man, so Colleen is probably one of my favorites. What I like to tell people after hearing Colleen is she is being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
Like she is out in Baltimore just loving on people, and it's incredible. Like after hearing that, I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Like even the podcast doesn't compare to what she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, she has moved into a neighborhood in the east side where Tali grew up and where the church is located, and her life is her ministry. I mean, she raises support, and you could say she's a church staffer, but really she just said, I'm going to make my life a mission field, and she's implanted herself in the lives of this neighborhood, and it's incredible. We talk with Dave, who is Furnace Hills Coffee, Furnace Hills Roasters. We'll get this right. You'll see it in the episode, but that's a whole different look. I mean, here's a guy who spent most of his life in full-time pastoral ministry, and now he has opened this coffee roasting business that is not just putting coffee in churches, but they're making a difference around the world. Like some of the coffee that we buy here literally supports missionaries in countries all over the place, which is crazy. They're doing a whole lot that is way outside the walls of a normal ministry, but it is ministry, and they're making a difference, and they're raising awareness. And that episode was really enjoyable to me too.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I'm not a big fan of coffee, but hearing all the stuff that he was doing with coffee and how he's even like helping people that aren't like, they're normally more on the sidelines. Like he's bringing them in. And
absolutely. Yeah. He's there's a whole culture happening there, and it's spreading, and it's awesome. So that one's really good. If you are a member of Perry Hall Family Worship Center, or you're just friends or family of the people here and you know us, and you'll be excited to know that we have our own John Corelli. We got a couple episodes with him, and it's really cool because John is, so when I was hired here in July, backstory, I've known John for years, kind of on the peripheral. Is that how that word goes? I can't speak.
I think
this is how the podcast goes too. We're not trying to fix things. We're idiots, and that's okay. But I've known John because he has booked my band here. He's booked us other places. So he's been this promoter guy that I knew. But coming into the job here, the production at Perry Hall is top notch. It's done really well. And I don't mean to say like that's not how ministry gets done, but it is important. If you're going to do it well. John does it really well. And so coming into the job, I had this assumption that he was the full-time like audio guy, and he's in here working on lights every day. Not at all. So again, John runs his own company, Team Gant, which you get to hear some about in the podcast too. So he's doing this other completely full-time thing that literally causes him to often travel throughout the country, and he's crazy busy. But he sits back and looks at the sound and the lights and all these things and goes, no, this matters. I have this gift, so I'm going to get passionate and I'm just going to do it. And that's really cool to me. That's really encouraging. He is not a staffer. He's not paid to be here. He might get in trouble with his dad if he didn't help, but I don't think so. I think he's just here because he wants to be here. What else do you want to say? There's all kinds of episodes. I'm sure we're not going to cover it in this intro, but you'll hear them. You'll watch them as they come out. Stephen, what do you want people to take away from this as they watch this season 1, as they listen through these interviews? What's your hope, and what are you looking for people to take away?
So my hope is that people just listen with an open heart. There's amazing stories and a lot of stuff you can apply to your own life. So just listen and try and just hear what God is trying to say through this. And then also share it. If there's something you like, or if something has moved you to give or something, go ahead and give to these people.
Yeah.
They all have ministries, and yeah,
you can buy coffee and make a difference. You can donate. I mean, to Colleen, we'll have her information. Steven's done the homework, and so there will be links and stuff where you can follow these people, even just follow their stories. Like if you, again, I go back to Colleen, she's on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. So if you need to be challenged or encouraged, all these people that we're interviewing, look them up. Like spend a minute and realize that they're everyday people. They're walking for Jesus, and they're making a difference in the world. And it's nothing that you can't do. It's, it just, again, with Colleen, I feel like I've done nothing in my life, but it's still encouraging. It's like, okay, there's deeper levels. There's bigger faith. There's more trust that I can gain. There's more to know about God, which I know, but when you see it in action, and even back to Dave with the coffee company, he created something out of nothing.
Yep.
And it was because it spoke to his daughter, which is incredible. You have to hear that story. And a lot of times we have these dreams or these side hustles that we never quite tackle because, well, it's just really, I'm working the 9 to 5 or whatever. And like, when would I ever find time? And Dave's a guy who just said, no, we're going to do that. And like, that's crazy encouraging. I love everything about it. So I guess I would close out by saying, thanks for checking out this intro. This is not even close to how fun and interesting the guests are. Like, you really got to get into them. I try my best to get out of the way. So check it out, subscribe, hit like if you're on YouTube. If you're watching this, leave a comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what we can do better, as long as it's not Fire Steven, because I don't know how to do anything else other than talking to a mic. So, Steven, anything for the people?
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We do appreciate it. And yeah, just stay tuned. February 4th. I think it's February 4th. The Tuesday, we'll roll out our first episode with Colleen. So
awesome.
It's going to be amazing. You guys don't want to miss it.
Awesome.